If her LinkedIn profile is anything to go by, there is nothing that Erica Elk has not done. From environmental and land use planning, check. Media liaison, writing speeches, press releases, check. Working with an internationally renowned contemporary artist, check. So today we are going to explore how all these experiences have shaped her journey to becoming the Group CEO of the Craft and Design Institute. Welcome to the NPO Bootcamp Arts and Culture Edition. Erica, thank you so much for making this happen. I'm so excited for our conversation today. So let's start at the very beginning. You studied fine art and had a very colorful episode on campus. Let's talk about that. Let's start there, please.
Sure. So I studied fine art at Wits University in the 1980s. Don't give my age away.
Before the turn of the century.
Thanks. Before the turn of the century. And so the university campuses in the 1980s were pretty hot spaces, along with the rest of South Africa. So
I'm curious, Erica, what informed your decision to study fine art?
So I come from a very creative family. Both my parents are architects. My mom studied architecture at Wits University, where I think she was one of two women in the class. So I grew up in a very creative environment. Obviously, I was encouraged to express myself. And when I was thinking about what to study, I had two choices, architecture or fine art. And I decided there were too many architects in the family because my brother had also was also actually studying architecture.
Amazing.
And I decided I needed to go on the fine art route.
Great.
Yeah.
So now we're on Wits campus and you're involved in student movement.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So I was fortunate to spend a year abroad in the States after matric as an exchange student. And, I think I went over as a sort of sensitive, empathetic young white South African, product of apartheid, but I landed up in a university town that was a hotbed of the anti-apartheid movement.
Right.
And I had to confront quite a lot of home truths about South Africa. I experienced people who didn't want to talk to me or shake my hands because I was a white South African.
On campus?
On campus and in sort of social environments. So I had to really think about what is the nature of the country that I've grown up in and was quite loyal to as a young South African.
That is so interesting. So this is a brand new experience. I'm trying to think, as you were growing up, you were probably very sheltered. You had never had somebody of a different race that would deal with you in that manner. So this was a brand new experience for you.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Probably never encountered a black person as an equal. So I was conscious of poverty. I was conscious in some way about the kind of nature of apartheid. Mm-hmm. But I think sheltered is the right word. I think I grew up. It's making me a bit tearful. Sorry.
It's okay.
Thinking about my dad.
No worries. You want some water?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
So just my father, actually an incredibly kind, respectful person. And so I think just I've learned from him about seeing people as people. So I think a sheltered environment, but the sense that there's something wrong. There's sort of a disease in the society. Mm. But going into that environment in the States, I think, as you say, people just confronting me with this is not cool. There's something really problematic about the country that you live in.
So what age are you when you have this experience?
18.
And now you think you're going to fix it?
Yeah, of course.
You're going to
Of course,
fix it.
at 18, you can do anything.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
how were you going to fix this?
So I had contact with friends, while I was away who were at university, and through communications, I remember I used to subscribe. There was the Star used to have a weekly edition, and I subscribed as a student. To this weekly edition because I wanted to stay in touch with.
Hold on, in the United States?
In the United States.
So this was being mailed to you because there was no internet,
yes,
right?
Yes, exactly. So I would, every week, I would get my edition of the
You are such an overachiever. So it had to be couriered there.
Well, no, it was posted, I think.
Oh, so the post office was working.
It was probably a bit late. I probably got it like a couple of weeks after. So the UDF in 1983 was the launch of a local movement in South Africa focused on the fight against apartheid.
And what did that say to you?
It said to me that there was something. It sort of spoke, I guess, to what I was being confronted with by people around what was wrong, fundamentally wrong in South Africa, and it spoke to that there was a movement that was emerging. That wasn't the ANC, not that I necessarily had a problem with the ANC, but that there was a movement in South Africa that was. And so I had in the one family I was staying with, the sort of my host brother, who was my age, was really radical. He picked me up from the airport and took me to an anti-nuclear demonstration. So that, again, was my introduction to that. And he was like, how can you go back to South Africa and live there? Because just living there, you're supporting the system. Just by being there and living there. And I was like, but I've got to go back. It's my family, it's where I come from or whatever. But it sort of sparked this thing of this idea that it's there's no such thing as being apolitical, that living in a society, you make choices, and your choices are political, not with a capital P, but with a small p.
Yeah, that guy was a hardliner.
Hardliner.
And very young.
So he was the same age as me. So very young, but I guess growing up in a free society that encouraged free thinking. And so I decided that actually if I was going back to South Africa, I needed to play a role in changing.
Be part of the solution.
Be part of the solution. And so I walked onto campus at orientation day and I said, where's the NUSAS table, which was the National Union of South African Students? And I signed up. And a lot of my friends were like, you nuts, security police are going to follow you, your safety, why are you doing this? And I just had this very deep sense of conviction that I needed to do it.
But that was a real threat, eh? You were not concerned about that?
No.
Wow.
Not at that time. Later it became...
Because you continued down that path. I
continued, so then became more active in politics because I'm so serious and overachiever. I got involved in the Student Representative Council. So I became a leader in the student movement. And
so you're on the SRC, you're on the... which is this other student body?
The National Union of South African Students.
You're supposed to be studying. When did you actually study?
I didn't really. So I was the worst student. If you ask anybody about doing a fine art degree, the expectation of fine art students is that they are in the studio 24/7 and that they are eating, sleeping, breathing their practice. I was the worst possible student because I was in protests, I was writing articles, I was printing pamphlets, everything else but.
So which part of the academic curriculum did you actually participate in, Erica? And which parts did you enjoy?
Well, in the end, I passed, so I must have done something. I actually loved my moments in the studio. So I majored in printmaking, so I was screen printing and making etchings and Anyway, I mean, I did enjoy my time in the studio when I could carve out the the time. And as I said, they did eventually pass me. My sort of joke at the time was that they passed me because they needed to get rid of me and make the space open for somebody else.
There's congestion now.
You need
we
to
need to keep
leave.
it moving. So when you left campus, where did you go?
So the first job I got was with the National Land Committee and I can't even remember when it was, 1990 something.
And is there a connection to art?
No.
Oh, okay.
So the connection was I finished my degree and I thought I'm not going to go and become an artist because that felt too sort of self-indulgent. I needed to use the skills that I had learned to contribute to building a new society. So at this time now, post-1990, so the ANC's been unbanned, Nelson Mandela's been released, there's movement towards, there's negotiations, there's movement towards free elections, a new South Africa. And so in my very serious mind, how do I make a positive contribution to building a new society?
Fascinating.
The idea of going and becoming an artist was not high on the agenda.
But that was why we initially went down this course. But things change, the political environment changes, and you feel like I need to be doing something more impactful with my life.
Yeah.
Very good. And that's how you end up at the Land Committee.
National Land Committee.
What were they about? What were they trying to do?
So they were set up in the 1980s, I think, to work with communities that had been forcibly removed. So people won't remember, but the apartheid government forcibly removed people out of traditional areas because they were designated white. And the National Land Committee was helping people fight the land claims, essentially the very early land claims. And I went to work for them as a media officer. So that was the connection with my art background.
Okay. Just staying there, but I know it's a long time ago since you left. Do you think they've made any kind of traction there? No.
It's a whole other story.
Whole other story.
Whole lot of things that could have been done, should have been done, that haven't been done.
Okay, and then you moved on to where?
So, and then what you're reminding me is at the same time, because I have this, I'm a bit schizophrenic. I'm the artist and I'm the activist. Also,
it's multifaceted. It's not schizophrenic.
Thank you. I started working for William Kentridge as a studio assistant. So I was doing these two things at this, by day. I mean, they were both day jobs, but the one time I was contributing to building a new society.
You had a day job and art was your after hours job.
It was another job
All right.
where I was working with William as a studio assistant.
How was that?
That was very interesting. Very, very interesting. I mean, I really was a studio assistant. I was mixing paint. I was buying paper. I was doing filing. I was doing administration.
Not fun stuff.
I mean, it was fun. It was really interesting watching an artist in practice. And he was completely, I mean, what I learned from him was the dedication and the hard work that is required to be a master.
He's a legend.
And maybe that's something I've taken away as I'm talking to you. I'm just thinking about that he got into the studio at 8:30 or 9 o'clock every day, spent a full day working in the studio. And that's what it takes to be a professional in whatever profession you're in.
So it wasn't like he wasn't. It wasn't a part-time gig for him. He's properly invested in this.
Completely 1,000% invested in his profession.
Amazing. So you were in the studio for how long?
So there's a couple of years I did these two things in tandem, and then I went to work for another company that, in fact, the guys who were the originator of the Madam and Eve cartoon.
I remember Madam and Eve. Yes.
And they were working on a radio and television series called Soul City.
I know Soul City. Who are these people?
They're called the Rapid Phase Group. Then at the time, they're quite, the guys who run it are sort of don't have a very high profile.
Right.
And they brought me on to help them project manage and script write for this radio show actually around, and Soul City was focused on actually they called it edutainment. So it was educating people about health messages, but through entertaining storytelling.
That was a very powerful franchise.
Yeah.
I remember Soul City. I remember Connie Ferguson was acting on Soul City. Lillian Dube was on Soul City. It was amazing in its time.
And if you go back, that's a long time ago. It was groundbreaking in South Africa.
Right. So you helped them on the media side. And what was your next step?
So my next step was actually to move to Cape Town. So this was all in Joburg. And then I moved to Cape Town, and then I started working for Derek Hanekom.
Yes, the politician.
As his media person. As the connection came through my land affairs.
Of course, yes.
Days, and he needed somebody to help him write media releases and deal with the press.
On a typewriter, hey? Were we still using typewriters? Did we have computers
by that time.
Okay. What year are we?
1997, 98.
Okay, no, we were using computers.
We were using computers. I think we even had, I had a cell phone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cell phones came in my third year of university. Yeah, those Motorola bricks.
Yeah. I think maybe Please Call Me started around about that time.
Very good. So you were Derek Hanekom was the minister.
He was the Minister of Land Affairs and Agriculture.
Yeah,
so I learned a lot about agriculture, things that I've forgotten. So don't ask me any questions about that. And that was also an amazing experience, working with a dedicated politician who really is committed to change. He worked incredibly hard. So it was the early days of land reform. So in fact, quite a lot of early strategies around dealing with the historical injustices of land claims, helping communities reclaim their land, getting the land back, helping to figure out how they can actually make the land productive.
Was there anything fun about working for the government?
Yes, actually, I mean, because of that period of time, I think we were still in a moment when it felt like actually,
there was hope.
There was hope. We have access to the levers of power. You can actually make a difference. And there were amazing, like working with him, being able to go to the first land restitution in KZN, and witness the joy of people returning to the land. The Kalahari, a similar sort of restitution. So they really were amazing opportunities to be part of that. What happened afterwards is another story. I wasn't there anymore. But being part of that was, I think, a once in a lifetime.
Very good. And then when did the seeds starting planted for the CDI?
The next step?
Yes.
So I think never given up on being an artist. I think one of the reasons why I went to work with William, and I kept doing things on the side, but never really being able to focus in on it because I was so focused on the other part of me. So it never went away. And then there was an opportunity because of what was happening in the Western Cape with the Western Cape government. There was a group that was looking at the craft sector and strategies to help develop the sector, and I got involved in that. And then there was some research that was done. I was involved in the research, and then there was the opportunity that came up to establish the Craft and Design Institute.
We're now going back 20-25 years.
25 years.
So what did the sector look like at the time?
It's hard to, in a way it's like in my head, so I can remember it. Very different to what it is today. I think what is amazing about sort of thinking back is that there was, again, the sense of potential. So, like as with the whole of South Africa, actually, the sense of potential that had been shut down, not allowed, a lid on it, people not having access to opportunities to grow. So there were pockets of people that were making things. There was quite a lot of, again, the people starting groups or starting cooperatives because of a way of building enterprise and development, but very fragmented, actually often quite poor quality products. But the intention was there. And then in the Western Cape, the idea of real potential, because so there was this research program research into the sector that I was part of doing. And I remember at the time thinking there was this, sort of tourism potential in the Western Cape because you could see it. It's in the garden route in the city of Cape Town. They're places that tourists would come because it's so beautiful. What do they do when people come to visit places? They want to take a memento. They want a memento. They want to take. So there was this real sense of potential, and South Africans are amazingly talented with their hands and their creativity. So it was like, is there a way to bring those two together to create some magic? And so I think that is the germ rather of inspiration behind the CD, then the Cape Craft and Design Institute.
Great. So how did we get started?
Research into what is the potential of the sector.
Potential in terms of turnover potential, employment potential, those kind of things.
So in fact, what preceded it was the National Department of Arts and Culture had done a strategy called the Creative Industries Growth Strategy. So now we're talking late 1990s, early 2000s. First time that there's a perspective on arts and culture with an economic lens.
You know, Erica, that is so fascinating that you bring in the government at this stage, because one of the other NPOs that I was talking about, she was saying, where is the government? The government is not playing the role that it can and should be playing if you compare it to countries like Germany and France and developing the culture potential, right? And you're saying to me that thinking is there. And my answer to her was that unfortunately in South Africa, we are thinking in election cycles. We are not thinking long term. But this is a strategy that started more than 20 years ago.
So, I mean, that's so interesting because when I tell people about it now, it seems really strange because I think of this current perspective. So then in the late 1990s, the department in a way was advanced of its peers.
Can you remember who the minister was at the time?
The minister at the time, I think, was Ben Ngubane.
No, I don't remember Ben Ngubane. Okay. But he was progressive, whoever it was. But that was great thinking.
But so what had happened in the 1990s was the UK and Australia had started this work, thinking about the arts and culture with an economic lens, and really it's that arts and culture obviously is part of everyday life and living or whatever, but the elements of the creative industries that actually generate economic value, jobs, etc. And so it was in the wake of that our Department of Arts and Culture, it was then the Department of Science, Arts and Technology, I think, commissioned this research. So there was this national strategy called the Cultural Industries Growth Strategy. And they identified four sort of primary sectors that at the research was showing that with sort of strategic investment in those sectors had the potential to impact on jobs and small businesses. And they were music, publishing, film, and craft.
Fascinating. So the CDI works in all these four spaces?
No.
Oh,
No. So that's what the sort of national strategy was about, was those four areas. In the provincial space in the Western Cape at the time, actually an ANC-led provincial government.
That was Ibrahim Rasool, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Said, okay, what are we going to do with craft? So here we're sitting with this national strategy. How do we land this national strategy in the province? So that was the context in which the CDI emerged. So there's this national strategy. There's research into what is the potential in this province. The research was saying we're strong on tourism. There's a strong retail base.
Absolutely.
There's not a lot of local product, but there's potential how do we turn this industry into an economically contributing industry?
I had totally missed out the retail component, because if you think about it, ShopRite, Clicks, all those, their head offices are in Cape Town. But I don't see the immediate link between crafts and retail.
It was more tourism retail.
Okay.
So not retail, it's not big retail.
Not big retail.
Not big retail.
I'm thinking at the wrong level of retail.
More tourism retail. So all of these places that people go to visit.
Okay.
There's a small,
like the V&A waterfront, those kind of spaces.
Table Mountain, Cape Point or whatever. There's a small shop.
Okay.
There's an opportunity to find the tourist and to sell into the tourist. So that's the environment where we start. And basically the mandate is, how do you turn this sort of potential sector into an economically viable and sustainable sector? That was the...
Amazing. That is a big job.
Yeah.
That is a really, really big job. A lot of levers to pull in, a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
So maybe let's take a short break here, and then when we come back, we can go into how you actually got off the ground. What are the kind of programs and initiatives that are running now, the partnerships that you've put in place? We good?
Yeah. Great.